needs to be kept in mind. Those cuts and the dramatic changes that they will entail for America's nuclear deterrent isn't really somebody else's problem. It's your deterrent that is going to be affected. That's right. We tend not to think of it as our strategic umbrella, as the capability that ultimately guarantees the security of each of us, our country, and those we love. But the truth of the matter is that in the nearly 64 years that we have had a nuclear arsenal, it has not only served to keep this country from being attacked by any other country with nuclear weapons, it has also made it possible for you or someone you love to avoid being dragged into the kind of global conflagrations that have periodically resulted in the loss of many American and millions of others' lives, at least until, that is, the dawn of the nuclear age. Today, few of us think at all about nuclear weapons. And if we do, perhaps it's to think about the desirability, as President Obama likes to say, of achieving a nuclear-free world. Well, it turns out that that's an idea that he's been nurturing ever since he was a radical youngster at Columbia University. The New York Times reported on Sunday that this has been kind of an idée fixe, as they say in France, a notion that if only he were president, he would be able to effect. And so while many of us have simply not given this much thought, or perhaps indulged in the idea that maybe such a world would be desirable, we can no longer engage in such irresponsible behavior, because it is, after all, going to be our deterrent, and in its absence, a very dangerous world that we will inherit, or at least pass on to our children and grandchildren. Now, we here at the Center for Security Policy this week were proud to sponsor the production of an owner's manual, if you will, for those who are interested in understanding some of these arcane subjects and the importance of nuclear capabilities in this kind of environment. This book is entitled U.S. Nuclear Deterrence in the 21st Century, Getting It Right. And unfortunately, as the book makes clear by drawing on a wealth of information that has been produced in recent months, some of it by officials, even officials of the Obama administration, some of it from commissions that have been chartered by Congress, some of it testimony that's been presented to the Congress. Taken all together, these materials make clear that the kind of program that Barack Obama has embraced in Moscow just today, and that he will now seek to pursue with the Russians and presumably in due course with others, will not make a safer world. In fact, it will make a more dangerous one. Indeed, as getting it right, as we call it, documents, we've not been getting it right now for some time. We've in effect engaged in a unilateral nuclear freeze. And that's been evidenced in the failure to do any nuclear underground testing since 1992, when that's the one means of absolutely, positively assuring ourselves that the weapons that we have work, and if there are any defects in them, that the fixes to those defects have been successful and are corrective. At the same time, the Russians have engaged in underground testing of a kind known as hydrodynamic testing that we in this country have told ourselves is impermissible under a comprehensive test ban treaty that President Obama now hopes to get the United States to become a fully signed up, ratified partner in. We've not engaged, for example, in any nuclear testing since 1992. That is the one means we have of demonstrating the effectiveness of our nuclear weapons, and if there are any defects discovered, satisfying ourselves with confidence that the fixes that need to be made are successful. Now President Obama proposes to make that a permanent arrangement, to preclude forever the United States from conducting nuclear tests should it need to do so. That would unfortunately lock us into a position where we have ever less confidence that our weapons work, certainly that we are unable to make them as safe and as reliable as we would like. And this is all the more absurd insofar as the Russians have, throughout the period of the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, continued to do underground nuclear tests of a kind known as hydrodynamic tests, very low yield, but nonetheless very instructive in terms of the quality of their weapons, which they have continued to modernize. And oh, by the way, we haven't done any modernization since before 1992. As a result, we have increasingly obsolete weapons that are of uncertain value in deterring the kinds of threats that we confront in the world today. No longer the Soviet Union of the past, but a very different kind of world in which we need to adapt. And without modernization, without even, according to the Obama administration, the replacement of our older weapons with ones that are specifically designed in the hope that they would be essentially indifferent to whether there were any tests conducted. Very, very reliable designs, in other words. And finally, in the absence of the kind of testing that we have done in the past and the kind of modernization that we have done in the past, we've found that the industrial base that's necessary to support our nuclear deterrent has atrophied. We're down to a handful of people, for example, in the nuclear weapons industrial base who've had any experience designing, let alone testing, nuclear weapons. And in their absence, we are now facing, I'm afraid, a situation in which we will be ever less able, over time, to assure the effectiveness, the credibility, the safety of our deterrent. These are all points that are amply elaborated upon and I think documented very well in this booklet, Getting It Right. And if you'd like a copy, please visit the Center's website and you'll find there at securefreedom.org the link to U.S. Nuclear Deterrence in the 21st Century, Getting It Right. In the absence of this kind of effort, and in the presence of the kind of reductions that President Obama is proposing now to make with the Russians, we are going to find ourselves, I fear, inexorably moving in the direction that he espouses. Only it's not a world without nuclear weapons. It will be an America without nuclear weapons. And one thing is sure, that's a world that will be fraught with greater peril for us and for those we love. And if that's not something you want done with your deterrent, this would be a very good time to say so. Thanks for listening.